things to dig up facts. The answer to your question is no, I'm not a scientist. I don't ever claim to be a scientist, and actually I don't want to be a scientist. I think science, although it's done many wonderful good things, has also done terrible harm on our planet, and I think we need alternative points of view which are nevertheless argued logically and based on real research, and that's where I've really tried to place myself, as providing an alternative point of view to science, but from a rigorous perspective.
Okay, so you're basically an investigator then. Okay, I see. That makes
I'm an investigative journalist. That's my background. That's all I am. I'm an investigative journalist with, I hope, an open mind.
Yeah, well, you got an open mind, man, no doubt about it. But I wanted to ask you a second quick question here, and I'll let you go real quick. I was just wondering, generally speaking, like if you could talk about like some upcoming stuff that you'll be doing. I mean, you were talking about how you would like to get people more involved with going into these new states of consciousness and things like that. And I'm all for that, but you're saying that like the authorities are like stopping people from doing that. I mean, how are they doing that? And I would like to actually work to try and stop them. I mean,
well,
it's
done, of course, primarily through the war on drugs and the drug laws, which have handed over the keys to our consciousness to massive, publicly funded, armed state bureaucracies. And somehow the con trick is so cleverly done that most of us accept this without question. We demand our independence, we demand our freedom, our right as individuals, even our right to own guns, and yet we passively accept that our government, those men in suits, may control what we experience or do not experience with our own consciousness. I think this is a fundamental human rights issue. The right of the adult to explore his or her own consciousness in the privacy of their own home or in sacred settings without doing any harm to others. And I think that Americans and the Brits and all of the rest of the world need to wake up to this fundamental human right, which we are presently refusing illogically when we ourselves come from cultures that defend the freedom of the individual. There could be no more important freedom than the freedom of consciousness, and the whole history of human culture shows us that the exploration of consciousness through visionary plants is of great importance. This is one of the issues I go into in depth in Supernatural, and therefore we must resist this on human rights grounds, this passive acceptance of the government's right to hold the keys to our consciousness. As I always say, if I'm not sovereign over my own consciousness, then I'm not sovereign over anything. And let's not pretend that we live in free societies when our society will send us adults. I'm not talking about children. I do believe children's access to these substances should be controlled in the same way that we control children's access to alcohol. I'm talking about adults and adult responsibility, and it always stuns me that the Republican Party, which is so much in favor of the freedom of the individual adult and so much in favor of adult responsibility, nevertheless harshly advocates terrible penalties against people who use visionary plants to explore their own consciousness. This is a fundamentally philosophical, illogical position for the Republican Party to find itself in, and I think it needs to think about it again.
When you were doing all your research over all these years, Graham, was there an area that when you stumbled across it, you simply said, oh, my God, I can't believe this?
Well, yes, very much so, and particularly for my research into Supernatural, for which reason I went down to the Amazon. I spent 5 weeks in the jungle, sitting down with Amazonian shamans and drinking the visionary brew called ayahuasca. It means the vine of the dead, or the vine of souls. And it's used in the Amazon to access the spirit world and the teachings of the spirit world, and used particularly for healing, because the Amazonian shamans believe that we can only properly heal ourselves if we understand the full context in which we're immersed. If we think that we're simply material beings and that there's nothing else to us but the matter of which our bodies are made, then we will never achieve a proper healing. We have to integrate the spiritual realm as well, and what ayahuasca, the vine of souls, allows us to do is to enter that realm and interact with the intelligent entities that live there. In the Amazon, they believe that a particular entity lies behind the ayahuasca vine. And this entity is envisaged sometimes in the form of a majestic human woman, and sometimes in the form of a gigantic serpent. a boa constrictor, an anaconda type of serpent. And I, under the influence of ayahuasca, like many who drink ayahuasca, have met this being. And I met her at a time when I was very low. We always speak of her in the female form, and I realize for those who have not drunk ayahuasca how strange this may sound. But you do have a direct spiritual contact with a being who loves the earth and who loves human beings and who comes to us with a feeling of love. Her business is the planet, but she has time for the individual human. And I have encountered this being, and she wrapped herself around my body and rested that huge head on my shoulders and looked me in the eyes. I was feeling very low. I was feeling very negative about myself. And she said, you know, it's okay to love yourself. And she just beamed so much love and warmth into me over that 2 hours that this experience lasted, that it was utterly, utterly transformatory. And I could never emerge from that experience and believe that the world is as simple and as materialistic as our scientists insist. Yes, that was a transformatory experience for me.
Fred in Florida, east of the Rockies. Hi, Fred. How are you?
How are you?
Good.
On the consciousness plane, and you postulated that you could possibly meet aliens by changing your consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
When you have out-of-body experience, that's a change of consciousness, and I don't remember a lot of people saying that do have out-of-body experiences saying they meet aliens.
No, they meet spirits. They construe them as spirits in that sense, but many of the encounters have similar elements to that. An out-of-body experience is when your consciousness is released from the material envelope in which it is briefly contained while we live on this planet. And if that out-of-body experience also accompanies a near-death experience, if you're having that out-of-body experience because your physical body is actually dying or dead, then it plays an important transition role in moving you from one state to the next, so that you often get a complete life review. You get the chance to look at everything that you did with your life. You get the chance to learn the lessons that you were meant to learn while you were here. So sometimes out-of-body experiences are also near-death experiences. Then the patient is recovered and they have this memory and this realization that consciousness is separate from the body and that it goes on forever. So I think it's part of the overall phenomenon that I'm describing, but a very specific part of it.
Another thing I can't understand, and George, maybe you can help me on this, is people in the UFO community are not taking the thing, what Ed Grimsley is showing, which should answer a lot of questions with his night vision goggles. He's showing UFOs battling each other, moving around in different ways that are not satellites and all that. Nobody's really taking this serious. Why is this?
Well, I don't know the researcher whose work you refer to, but I can tell you why nobody takes any of this seriously, because there is a huge mind control operation in our society to stop us taking it seriously. Our society doesn't want us to know about these things. It wants to keep us narrowly programmed as consumers and producers of material goods, and it doesn't want us thinking about the wider, extraordinary reality that surrounds us.
Indeed. Next up, let's go to Seattle, Washington. Hello, Brian. Thank you for holding.
Hey, Grant. Hey, George. How you doing?
Sure thing.
Grant, I just got back from actually approving Amazon drinking ayahuasca. And
oh, wonderful.
It was
wonderful.
amazing. And I loved what you talked about in Supernatural with the stereotropic beings and,
yes.
and then topics and everything.
Yes.
I do visual art, and that's how I integrate these experiences back into my life. But I was just wondering how you integrated your experiences with altered states into your life, and have these experiences opened up paths of studies beyond what you've written in Supernatural? Like, where is it going, and how have these altered states opened you up?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Ayahuasca has given a gift of art all over the planet. There is extraordinary visionary art being created by artists who've worked with ayahuasca, opening up whole new realms of artistic endeavor, just amazing stuff. In my case, I'm not gifted with art. I can't draw to save my life. I can't paint. My hand and eye don't work that way. My gift appears to be with words. And the gift that ayahuasca has given to me is a novel. I've just finished writing a whole whole novel, which involves time travel and spirit worlds, and one character today and one character 24,000 years ago linked through the spirit world, fighting a battle of good against evil. And this novel has just been handed over to my publisher, and it's a gift to me from ayahuasca. The whole plot, the whole